Cosmic Dia. I am Kara Viadiel. I don't know if you can hear the rain right now, but it is a really cozy, rainy day in Portland. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, we are exploring how to read your birth chart. I'm a professional astrologer. I learned from my tias, my mom's sisters, whenever I was young. They taught me how to cast my birth chart and all about crystals and energy work and just healing with the natural world, honoring that ancestral wisdom, setting my intentions to just flow as a conduit, sharing any, stories from my work and resources, and truly just highlighting that Dia energy. That's my goal. Their magic, bringing crystals and just talking about dreams and something bigger than us, speaking your truth, honoring your authentic energy is just something that's really stuck with me ever since I was little. So when they started to pass in 2020 and I became a tia, I knew that I wanted to bring that to the forefront of what I do. It was my Saturn return. And I started my own business as an astrologer and tarot reader and energy work practitioner. So I'm so happy to share, any insights on that path. And I think, a 101 episode is really good, right? Like just the basics, the key, what do the planets and placements mean, the houses, and how do we work with it? So I'm here for questions. I'll answer a few questions that I get all the time. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to Cosmic Dia. I'm Kara, and this is a podcast where we delve into the realm of astrology, tarot, plant ancestors, auras, and energy work, all enriched by the timeless wisdom passed down by those tias who came before us. In this sacred space, we honor the legacy, carrying their light and stories forward as we explore ancient paths of understanding and liberation. Astrology is an ancient tool. The first reference that we have of a birth chart is 410 BCE. The references we have date very far back, and with that information, understanding that there was an oral tradition before a written. So even further, I understand these planets have brought symbolism and signified things. There's been patterns, undeniable patterns over time. That can mean something for us generally as a collective, a group of us, but it can also mean something for our birth chart. So a lot of us enter the realm of astrology through our birth chart and our sun, moon, rising. It's called the window to the soul. And it's kind of like a snapshot, an entry point into the birth chart. So how do you get your birth chart? There's a lot of websites you can go to. I love Chani, and I'll link a few in the show notes. When you pull your birth chart, you have to understand at first what type of astrology are you working with. Personally, I'm working a lot of the time with Hellenistic traditional, and the house system I use is whole sign. So that's worth mentioning at the top. There's Placidus, which is modern. Placidus is a house system for modern astrology. And I think it's all valid. There's even Vedic astrology, right? And so I think no matter which way you cut the pie, it's still pie. So understanding what type of astrology you'll be using first, I think is a great place to start. So for the sake of this episode, we'll be looking at traditional ancient Hellenistic astrology, and that uses whole sign houses. Pulling your birth chart, setting it for whole sign houses, and then if you have the time and the location, you get this snapshot, this screenshot, this sky when you were born, where everything was, right? And what's cool is you can do this by hand with an ephemeris, or now we have technology to just pull it, right? So whatever floats your boat, but once you pull your birth chart, a lot of people start with their rising sign, and it's interesting. If you don't have your time of birth or the location, you might just have, the day you were born, or maybe not even sometimes. And that's okay. There's a lot of astrologers, and we can work with you to understand finding your birth chart. Now, I don't think every astrologer might be skilled in that, but there's a lot of us who are, and I love doing it. There's questions and patterns we can work with. That's worth mentioning. Not everybody just has that data available to them. So when you look at the birth chart, the first thing you'll look at with that information is the rising sign. That's the constellation rising when you were born. So we would look to the east, and with that, it indicates your 12 houses. So your rising sign is also called your ascendant, and it's your first house of self. So I say it's like the game piece that you move around the board with. So this is you. Sometimes it'll indicate appearance in early life. These are like the textbook traditional translations of the first house, the helm. And so that's who you are. What planets do you have here? Just kind of dropping in here, understanding that's where you might start. And then if you were born during the day, you would go to the sun, and the night, the moon. And you can tell if you look at the chart, there's typically a horizon line. And if the sun is above it, your day, and below, your night. So that's where I'll go next. If they're a night chart, I'll go to the moon. And that's kind of interesting because a lot of people with, pop astrology are familiar with their sun. So if we start talking about their moon, that might see them, meet them on a deeper level, and they might feel more seen because they relate more to their moon as a night chart than their sun. So just understanding, what house is the sun in? Because that can also indicate, their relationship with their sun. Is it in the 12th house? Who is it by? Is it by Saturn? All of these things will give off a nuance and a relationship with your chart. So that's why I think it's so important to understand all of those details when looking at the chart, rather than just like reading about an Aries moon, right? Because what if that Aries moon is conjunct Saturn? That's going to bring a really different energy. And so even at certain times, right, understand, like, has this chart had the Saturn return yet? And so just kind of understanding those nuances is where we start. Have I gone too far already? So if you pull your birth chart and you look at your first house of self, what sign is here? What planets are here? Is this a cardinal sign, a mutable sign, or a fixed sign? So the examples there would be cardinal starts the season, like Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, and Aries? Or is it a fixed sign like Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, Taurus? Or a mutable sign where the season changes? And we have Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, Gemini. Okay, I just did those by memory really quick, and normally I can eat, so I'm pretty proud of myself. I was able to just okay, I normally forget one or two, right? So understanding that will tell you a lot about a sign. Cardinal might initiate, might start a lot of things, that leader, it's great at that. We love that. We love them for that. So understanding what placements do you have that are cardinal, and then what placements do you have are mutable, where the season changes. And where does change honor you and help you transform? And then fixed, right? Fortified, grounded in that ideal perspective. So understanding those placements and how you work and holding, yourself by that standard rather than an external standard that might not really be how you flow. So that's where we start, understanding your rising sign, the modalities, the elements, and the planets that are here. So this is where I want to get into with the planets and the key. So a few keywords we find: the sun brings that light, that awareness, and vitality. So the sun represents the essence of our identity, that core self. I like to say whenever we wake up in the morning, just that innate theme feeling that is the sun. It symbolizes our ego and our personal power. The influence that the sun can bring governs leadership, creativity, the conscious mind, and is associated with one's life purpose and ambitions. So understanding your sun can feel really validating. and understanding what house it's in for me I felt very seen as a sun in the 12th house personally. Understanding the 12th house and building a relationship with it has helped me thrive. Then we go to the moon. So the moon is the closest, right? It's the fastest. It goes through those 12 signs in 28 days. It changes the sign every 2.5 days. So the moon can show us where we come from. It can show us our emotions and our body. So building a relationship with the moon as in what you need daily and understanding how you live your life through the energy of the moon can be helpful. So it signifies our mood and instincts and emotional responses linked to home, family, and a nurturing aspect of life. And so from here, I would look at what rules the rising sign. And so based off your rising sign, what rules that sign? And I use ancient rulership. So I'll go through them real quick. Aries is ruled by Mars. Taurus is ruled by Venus. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Cancer is ruled by the moon. Leo is ruled by the sun. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Libra is ruled by Venus. Scorpio is ruled by Mars. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. And Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. So I just wanted to make sure I got those all. And based off of that might be where the planets that you look at next. So if you say, there's a few too many planets for me to understand them all today, maybe you choose your planetary ruler of your first house and start there, and it might make the most sense to you too. You might really understand that, and that relationship might come naturally. So then when others follow, you understand them a bit better. So Mercury is the magician, and the magician symbolizes communication, intellect, exchanging, information, reason, the messenger of the gods, and it influences the way that we think, the way that we learn, our interactions, travel, and commerce. Venus is the empress, represents love and how we bring love into the physical realm. Beauty, harmony, governs relationships, aesthetic, appreciation, and affection. It influences our attraction and associated with pleasure, values, luxury. We have Mars, revolution, the tower. Mars is the planet of action, energy, and desire. It symbolizes courage and conflict. The warrior drives ambition and completion. It governs physical vitality and the pursuit of goals. Jupiter is the wheel of fortune. Jupiter stands for expansion, wisdom, abundance, interweaving connectedness, and is the planet of growth and optimism. Jupiter encourages learning, spirituality, and success. It is linked to fortune, law, and ethics. Saturn is the world, symbolizing structure, discipline, responsibility. The taskmaster, the time daddy of the zodiac, enforces limitations and perseverance. It governs maturity, time, lessons learned through challenges. Then for the further planets out that one would need a telescope to see, we have Uranus, the Fool, embodying innovation, change, and rebellion, influencing originality and breakthrough, technology, and freedom. Neptune is the Hanged One, signifies dreams, intuition, the mystical realm, governs unseen and imagination. It inspires creativity and spiritual awareness linked to illusion, compassion, and escapism. Pluto, judgment, represents transformation, power, and rebirth. It symbolizes the planet of profound change, drives regeneration and empowerment, and it governs the cycles of death and renewal, as well as deep psychological processes. So you might be like, great, what does all of that mean for me? How do I build a relationship with that? So I like the practice of, casting your own chart and dropping in your ascendant and even including the degree and, maybe the keywords, what you identify with and what your intentions are when it comes to your first house of self. So here's where we'll go through the houses. We'll just use a few keywords for each house to understand the houses. The first house is self, young life, appearance, the helm. The second house is the gate of Hades, your quest for your resources, your finances, your physical realm. Your third house is the house of the goddess, communication, daily ritual, siblings, neighborhood, short journeys. The fourth house is home, ancestry, lineage, parents, roots. The fifth house is pleasure, body. There's also an element of children, fertility in the body and of the mind. So creative processes, but also body, pleasure, movement. The sixth house is routine and work and health, body. So it's a really interesting house. I find, our commitment to our health and our body and the routine there is how that house correlates. The seventh house is committed partnerships. The eighth house is death and other people's resources. What happens, that the ancestral gift, inheritance, what happens when our soul leaves the body, what is beyond view. I find a lot of mental health and other people's resources and being able to reallocate or it's a really interesting house to expand upon. The ninth house is spirituality, philosophy, astrology, cultures around the world, long distance travel, higher education. The 10th house is life's work, world stage, what the world needs from you. The 11th house is community, groups, patrons, people who want to support you. The 12th house is the hidden realm. Now, we can see this house as hidden enemies, but we can also see this house as the hidden, shadows, subconscious, isolation, or feeling exiled, sent off to foreign lands and finding solitude. It's kind of healing. If every house you might see kind of anchors itself, the first house is self, the 7th house is self with other, the 2nd house is your resources, the 8th house is other people's resources, the 3rd house is the house of the goddess, the 9th house is the house of God, the 4th house is home, private life, the 10th house is legacy, life's work, public, reputation, the 5th house is children, pleasure, the 11th house is groups, community, the 6th house is body, health, routine, and so the 12th house is the hidden realm. And so through understanding the other houses, maybe that helps you build a relationship with understanding the opposite. And also too, where are your planets, where's your sun, where's your moon? Does that help you understand that house more? And then if you already know all of that and, no information, and there has been no new information to you thus far, a helpful thing is to consider the current transits. So wherever the sun is right now activates that house for you. So right now it's Scorpio season. That's my 12th house. So working with my 12th house intentions and themes makes sense to me. And then in Sagittarius season, that's my 1st house. So working with my 1st house themes and intentions, feeling, seen might make more sense. And even understanding not only the sun moving through, but Venus. Venus is already in Sagittarius, kind of evoking those, intentions. And so understanding this within your chart can be really helpful. And that's the current transits. So first we start with the birth chart and unpacking that, and then tossing in the current transits. That layer just helps us activate what lessons and houses and themes might be working, with us right now. So that might be a lot of information to start off with, but I really just wanted to share that. I think another great way to work with all of this information is through the Planetary Days. And so Mondays for the moon, and that could look like drinking tea for your moon sign, or, set your intentions for your moon. But I love the plants, and so there are plants for each planet and sign that can help bridge our intentions. So Mondays for the moon, Tuesdays for Mars, Wednesdays Mercury, communication, Thursdays Jupiter, abundance, Friday is Venus, connection to beauty, love, Saturday is Saturn, boundaries, and then Sunday is for the sun. So working with those planetary days can also help, return to the intentions, ground, and build upon those, intentions based off the current season and the forecast. Okay, so I think another good note within a 101 episode would be the colors to work with the planets. And the sun's colors are gold and yellow, and that represents warmth and illumination. The moon's colors are silver and white. And you'll find that even in the crystals, this can help you build a relationship with the crystals for the planets. Mercury is orange, so working with orange for Mercury. A lot of the times it helps me choose an outfit for the day. And Venus will be pink or green for the heart center. Mars, red. Jupiter can be a deep purple, royal blue, if you will. And Saturn can be I've seen it like a slate metal, silver, dark colors, whatever, brown, black. And then I've seen Uranus as turquoise, Neptune is indigo, and Pluto as like a dark red or black, denoting that rebirth. Neptune, the ocean. So this is how we start to build a relationship, understanding our birth chart. I'm here for follow-up questions and thoughts. These are my most common questions as a professional astrologer that I get. One, when people see an empty house, they are very concerned, as if there might not be energy there. I'm not sure, but I tell them to not fear. It doesn't mean that. The planets can't be everywhere at once, so all it means is that if you have questions about that house, how you build a relationship with it is to ask yourself what rules that house. And so say if you're looking at your 7th house and there's no planets there, what rules it? Maybe it's a Gemini. And then you would ask where, your Mercury rules Gemini, so where's your Mercury? And then that will help you answer questions on how to, whatever you are looking to gain is through your Mercury, wherever that is. And yeah, I hope that answers that question. And when people share their big three, I think the next, maybe 102, if you will, we'll talk about aspects. And aspects are how the planets talk to each other. And so understanding aspects might be level 2 or intermediate, but that truly, I think, is the whole point of astrology, is how the planets communicate with each other and work with each other. And I think when we're forecasting, whether it's just like understanding when to plant a seed, but understanding the resources available to you, that's what the aspects are. So we'll get into the aspects next. But first, I want you to understand the planets, because the planets can help us bridge the understanding of the aspects. So once you understand the benefics of Jupiter and Venus and how they bring good, and that's what they're said to do, and, of course, in different ways, but then you have Saturn and Mars, which are said to be malefic. So just understanding like that is like this ancient translation of like these planets do bring maybe challenges sometimes. And I think also a good understanding could be inviting in tarot. And so Mars, even though I love Mars and it's my favorite and I'm all about Mars, technically it is worth mentioning it's a malefic. So when we understand that, sometimes it can be a challenge. But I love a challenge. I think we go further. It's like when we swim and we push off the wall to go further. That's Mars. So working with your Mars can help, you grow with your intention, take action here, and channel that warrior energy. And then understanding that Mars is also the square. So, we'll bridge that into 102, but let me know if you have any questions based off of what we've mentioned so far and understanding your birth chart. I'm so excited to hold space and just create a community where we can share stories and insights from, our life and our ideas and heal in community. I think that's so important to sustain ourselves on this journey to liberation. So thank you for connecting with me and taking time to, reflect on your journey and pour into yourself. So I'm honored to hold space with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so please let me know if you have any questions. Share your sun, moon, rising, and we can start talking about the degrees and the tarot cards and building your birth chart in tarot cards. I think is a really fun project. And vision boards to understand your placements better. So I'm excited to expand on what that looks like in the next episode. See you next time.